everything women's sports. Like when you think women's sports, I want you to think Ready Set Girl.
You moved to New York, you finished your studies there, got back to India now.
It's 2025, how can you not be invested in women's sports?
Are there any kind of challenges that you're facing right now?
Bringing down like females as a whole and just like being like you are invalid.
Get perspectives, right? Perspectives for Gen Z, perspectives for millennials.
Because of the kind of society we live in, like patriarchies everywhere.
Are these comments that come, are they on the content where you're dishing out news about women in sport or opinions about them?
So I understand it's a lot of unlearning.
Yeah. With comments coming in like that,
Yeah.
it is going to be
Yeah.
a struggle.
It's just like men in my comments just like constantly like bringing down this whole.
Well, boys and girls, I'm going to tell you a very interesting story, right? A few months back, I was looking for someone who can, talk sport really well. Someone who probably is a creator, not a creator, but who understands sport. And I came across this wonderful page with so much effort, so much heart and soul into it to push women in sport in India. And that's when I came across this page called Ready Set Girl, which was managed by Nandita Anand. Thank you so much, Nandita,
Hi, thank you for having me.
for coming here. Very, very quickly, before we try and begin, I also want to let the audience know that Nandita is someone who's been trying to push women in sport in India, right? And if you go down to a page, you have a look at it, I think it's very meticulously planned. There's content which will try and pique interest amongst the audience. So I think that's something that piqued interest for me as well. And it's very interesting to know as to how you came about with this name, why Ready Set Girl in specific, and what's your goal, specifically. To start off with, if you can tell, everyone as to what Ready Set Girl is all about.
Yeah, Ready Set Girl is, well, it exists as an Instagram page and now we're on YouTube as well because I wanted to do long form as well. But it is essentially a community, a resource, a news outlet, like information, just everything women's sports. Like when you think women's sports, I want you to think Ready Set Girl.
Yeah.
And that's what we are. And yeah, I create content around women's sports, mostly video content. I do some stills as well, of course. Yeah, I talk about what's happening. I talk about what you should know that you may not know, talk about players you should know, just everything you can think of women's sports, not just in India, globally. I cover everything, everywhere, and all sports essentially.
Give me that inspiration that's been behind this, because I think I saw one of your videos which said, you were also a runner. You moved to New York, you finished your studies there, got back to India now.
Yeah.
And you've decided to make a change. I think you did film there, right? And then come back and do sport. So what's been that change?
Yeah, so I grew up as a runner. My events were 100 and 200. So I was a sprinter. And I ended up quitting running for like various mental health reasons. And when I quit running was when I found film, because I had so much more free time on my hands because I wasn't training like 24/7. And when I found film, at the same time, it also kind of just, the first film I made was on female athletes, which was called Ready Set Girl. And it just made the most sense to me to be able to marry my two passions of sport and film. And that's kind of what I ended up studying in college. I did film, but I focused specifically on sport documentary, and that's what I mostly made in college as well. And then when I decided to come back, I had already started Ready Set Girl, the Instagram page. And I didn't really know where I was going to go, but I knew that like with the background, my background of film and with content growing so much, I knew it would kind of give me an advantage to be able to do everything in-house, like to like a really high quality as well. And yeah, so that's how it's happened. And I think with being able to expand to long form as well, now it is much more aligned with like the film aspect of me. It's not just 1 minute reels. I'm able to, we have no specific format on the YouTube. Like some of it is like traditional YouTube video formats, but we also like doing short documentaries and things like that.
I see a lot of friends also being a big support to you, right?
Yeah.
How important it is, for them to be around you, back you. When you mentioned to your parents that, this is something that I want to do.
Yeah.
In a country like India where women's sport hasn't yet picked up. It's still picking up, I would say. But to be able to take that plunge and say, this is what I want to do. What was the reaction like?
I think to everyone who I've spoken to, everyone in my community, the only thing they've said is this just makes so much sense for you.
Wow.
I think this was really the only possible thing that I could do, because I think from a very young age, sport has been tied to my personality. And for a long time, I didn't like that. It put a lot of pressure on me, especially like so young in school, having one thing tied to your personality, and like everyone knows you as the girl who runs or whatever. It's a lot of pressure, and I didn't like it for very long. And then when I quit, I needed to take some time away from sports as a whole. But then I think when I went to college, I started falling in love with sports more again. And I knew I wanted to be involved in the space in some way or the other and like give back, and it just made sense. And I think that when I started Ready Set Girl, just everyone around me was like, this just makes so much sense for you. Like you are meant to be doing exactly this. So yeah, complete support. I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, one of the important things was also, when I was hunting for these posters, right? Because you were coming on the show, and because I was looking at women in sport, I was hunting for posters with women faces on them. And I'm hoping that in a few years from now, or a few months from now, we also have pages making posters for women in sport.
Yeah,
I think which should change, right? When I speak about that, I've also seen that your content, you meticulously planned it, you're editing it, how much time goes into it, and how do you manage to keep that consistency going?
Initially, a lot of time, like it would take me a lot of time to figure out how to script it, what's the right thing to say, how to still keep it engaging and quick, but also get my message across, because that was one thing that I was not willing to compromise, like just for the algorithm to not make sure that everything I wanted to say was not going out there.
Right.
So even if my reel was over 60 seconds, I didn't care, as long as people were hearing what I wanted to say and hearing the whole story. So initially it took me really long. I think with the edit, my laptop is like my third limb at this point. So I'm very fluent in it. So luckily for me, that doesn't take me as long as it might take for someone who's not.
Yeah.
But now I think it's very clockwork. Like I know exactly what I'm doing, how to do the scripting. The filming takes me way less long. I used to be so much more like shy in front of the camera. I think staying consistent on most days, it's like I'm just like, I have no option. I have to post something or the other. I think if you just like start with that mindset, like something will go up, whatever it is. But at the same time, also remembering that it's like not that deep. Like the world is not gonna end if I don't post one day. It's Instagram, like I'm not saving lives.
So basically, you're not focusing on the algorithm as of yet.
Yeah.
I think from where you're coming, it's the basic idea that you want to push women in sport, and you're trying every bit that you can.
Yeah.
So does your entire day look pretty much pack? I would say, like in a week, are you doing like say 4 to 5 pieces of?
Yeah, I would say my day is pretty packed because I also have a full-time job as a freelancer. So, I mean, the flexibility of that allows me to give Ready Set Girl so much time. But on some weeks, days are like very packed when I'm like back-to-back shoots and then edits for clients and this and that to squeeze in the RSG reel as well. Like it takes up my time, but it is at the end of the day, it's something that I want to do. I'm doing it by choice, something I want to put out. So, yeah.
And do you also think that social media in a way has helped you push this forward, or is yet to be? I'm coming from a space that hasn't been rewarding yet, or you'll probably look at it in a 6 months or a 2-year thing down the line.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do definitely think it's been rewarding. At the same time, yes and no. Like growth is very slow because it's such a niche, especially in India. But I think because it's a niche, you get to know everyone in the niche. Like I feel like I already know all the like sports/women's sports specific like creators or brands or whatever. So in that sense, I've met a lot of people. And even though, numbers might be small and growth is like whatever slow, I think that like all the people that do follow me that are in my community, I feel like they're all very active.
Yeah.
Like it's not just some like random passive followers. I feel
Yeah.
like everyone actually engages. I'm able to have conversations with them on DMs
Yeah.
or in the comments. Like that follower number like is actually meaningful. It's not just some random, I don't know who these people are kind of thing.
And because you have a small community now, is there any kind of experience that has been rewarding to you, where someone came and said something to you?
Yeah.
Like, this is.
I mean, I think it's touchwood. Like most of the feedback has been positive. I think for a lot of people, it's kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like you don't see a lot of. I mean, I see a lot of like women's sports content because that's all my algorithm shows me. But I understand for a lot of people that might not be the case, and it's nice to know that I'm that one reel that they see that's about women's sports in their day, and I get like really good feedback. And I think the one thing that people tell me is that whatever I'm talking about, my passion always comes through, and that's how they're able to just be interested because I'm so interested in what I'm talking about, which is always really nice to hear.
From here, I want to make that switch, into going into lives of these sports players. Is there any story or any player, maybe of women in sport, who has probably inspired you or given you that push to change things or look at things in a different way, or on your journey, probably given you that push?
I'm like, where do I start? I feel like all of them, like Simone Biles, Ilona Maher, these are names that like immediately come to mind. And obviously they are like the top of the top, like the biggest names out there. But like you see women like them that can do like such incredible things at such a high level, and still not enough people are talking about it, or still people are like have enough negative things to say about it. It's just so absurd to me that that's kind of what pushes me to be like, I want to talk more about it, and I want to like create that awareness in community. Even though these women, they don't need me for sure, but I don't know, like even like at the Olympics this year, it was the first year there was like gender parity at the Olympics, and still people had so many negative things to say, or that women were not valid and this and that and whatever else it is. And like I think that only just fuels me to.
Are you also looking to address these kind of controversial opinions that people have,
100%.
or you're only trying to educate them?
No, I mean, I think, well, yes, of course. I think the first step is education. But I do definitely also want to address like these controversial opinions, because I think a lot of them are misconceptions and things that people have been.
Can you give me one misconception, like anything that comes in the top of your mind that you heard someone say and you're like, this I don't agree with?
I mean, that women shouldn't play sport. Or that like women are inherently weaker or this and that. And like there's so many of this that I like, these kinds of comments that I get all the time. I just think that people like this are trained to think a certain way. They've been conditioned because of the kind of like society we live in, like patriarchies everywhere. So I understand it's a lot of unlearning. I understand the people in my comment section are not like, then they don't want to unlearn, but someone will, and it'll resonate with someone somewhere, and someone will be like, oh yeah, I didn't realize I thought like this, and this is interesting.
So how do you tackle these comments that you get, right? Because I saw I think yesterday or day before when you covered the World Cup as well, and then there was a post saying, and like there are comments on the page. But when people do that, I think it's a little demotivating as well. But at the same time, what's your approach to it?
So I think with sports, whenever you have a sports take online, whether men or women, people are going to have things to say about it. It's a very like polarizing topic. So I understand that. I don't take it too much to heart. But like on some days it really gets to me, because it's just like men in my comments just like constantly like bringing down this whole, like bringing down like females as a whole, and just like being like, you are invalid. So like a lot of the times that's just like, it frustrates me so much. I don't really engage with the comments because, like I said, I don't think these people are there to learn or hear me out or understand that I also have a valid opinion. I don't I don't usually engage. If I feel like there's a conversation there to be had and it's not just like me talking to a wall, then yeah, maybe I'll put my point across and try and understand where they're coming from as well. But most of the time I don't engage. A lot of the times my followers will engage with these people and unfortunately they'll get like trolled back, which I don't love. But yeah, I understand that people are always going to have something to say.
I also want to understand, are these comments that come, are they on the content where you're dishing out news about women in sport or opinions about them? Or both?
Yeah, I would say both. Honestly, it mostly comes when I mention anything about men or like a men's team or a male player. It
Right.
will always, like, I know then like hate will come. The other day I had posted something about the Barcelona women's team and how, you know, they're down now to 17 players. And I essentially boiled it down to because, you know, of whatever this mismanagement of finances, that whatever happened with the men's team, the women are having to bear the brunt of it. And I got maybe like every single like Barcelona fanatic in my comments being like, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know anything about the FFP rules, this, that, blah, blah, like long paragraphs talking about some like 1990s Champions League something and how I don't know about this and like blah, 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 blah. So I think it's, the trend is whenever I talk about men in my reel, I will always get hate for it.
So now do you think that maybe if you had to make a reel on the FPP rules,
Yeah.
you know, and just put out something there, would
Yeah.
that pacify them? Would that help them, you know, look at you in a different way, or maybe not?
Maybe. Again, it depends on how I frame it. If I say anything that is criticizing the men's team, they won't like it. So it all depends on how I'm framing it.
Interesting. So because this also brings me to my point, to try and think as to how difficult is it going to be to push this niche ahead, right?
Yeah.
Because it's women in sport. There are a few women athletes who are currently in India. A lot of things that you cover right now, you know, you have sports like rugby, football, cricket is also something that you're doing.
Yeah.
Are there any kind of challenges that you're facing right now? Because to push this with comments coming in like that, it is going to be, you know, like a struggle. So
I mean, I think like just because it's hard, it doesn't mean I shouldn't do it, for one.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think the comments are honestly like at all relevant. I don't think that they are like a part of this journey of me trying to push women's sports. It's always going to be there.
Fair, absolutely.
But yeah, of course, like it is difficult in a country like India to be pushing female athletes and pushing women's sports. I don't think, you know, we're not where we were 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of progress for sure. Even if it's just with cricket, it's a start. Like in this country anyways, we only watch cricket, so it's a start.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have a little bit of like a colored opinion because I consume so much women's sports content that I'm like, it's everywhere, guys. What are you talking about? Like even like a lot of like Indian women's sports content. Like even for rugby, like there was, I think it was the under 20 Asia Cup or something like that, and we came
for India.
Yeah, for Indian rugby, and we came second or third.
Wow.
And there's so many like sports that are not cricket where women are thriving. We have like a tennis prodigy coming up. We have a squash prodigy coming up. Yeah, progress might be hard. I don't think it's impossible. It's coming. It might be slow, but it's coming.
Do you think if you were an athlete first and then started this content creation journey, things would have been a little different?
Like, I was a content creator as an athlete?
You were an athlete first and then turned content creator. For example, if you were a cricketer, if a cricketer decides, okay, you know, I played cricket for 1 or 2 years professionally, I've been out there, but now I decide to push women in sport. I'm just coming from a space just to try to understand, is there that credibility that would have helped you a little bit more, or it doesn't matter at all?
No, I do think it matters. I think it matters to be able to understand sport. I was an athlete growing up, so I was obviously not like at the Olympics or whatever, but I understand sport. I've played sport all my life. I understand to an extent what the kind of work that goes in to be an athlete. and what those stories actually mean more than just the words that are being put out. So I do think it helps for sure. I don't think it's everything. Like, that's not to say that if you are just a fan of watching sports or talking about sports or whatever, that doesn't mean you can't do this.
Absolutely.
But I think it adds an extra layer that helps for sure.
Because I also have a friend who's an actress, now turned an F1 content creator. She speaks about engines, cars, tires,
Yeah.
but the amount of hate that she gets
Yeah.
because she's speaking about
Yeah.
things sometimes, and she also gets love sometimes.
Yeah.
It's not just hate.
Yeah.
But I just think I can't gauge as to what people want when a woman is speaking about something that she knows. So it's kind of hurtful as well, I would say,
Mhm.
because I think you guys know your content really well.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure as to why the audience can't understand that this is something that we need to start accepting, that women also know their stuff really
Yeah.
well, when it comes to sports.
Yeah.
specifically.
I mean, I have so much to say on this.
Please.
I think it all just boils down to the fact that sport is a sphere in society that was at one point reserved specifically for men, and like has for a long time before very recently marginalized women forever. For whatever reason, we were always told you can't play sport because you're not strong enough, you're not fast enough, you're just too frail, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Like, literally dates back to like the Victorian era. And I think sport as a field particularly encourages traditionally like male behavior, like being very strong and macho and this and that. Like, it legitimizes this male worldview. And like I said in one of my reels, I think it is a pillar of masculinity. And when women come into that, they're threatening that. Then what does it mean to be a man if a woman can also be strong and fierce and macho and all these things? And that just doesn't sit well with a lot of men. And so when we're talking about sports and we are involved and we're playing, it like threatens this like club that has been exclusive and like gate kept from like one half of society essentially. And
I don't see it, but from which angle do you think is it going to be a threat for masculinity? Just because I'm just trying to gauge.
I mean, the fact that like, okay, for example, like a lot of men think being like saying something like, oh, you throw like a girl, like that's an insult, right? Like being called girly is an insult.
Right.
But if girls are able to also be strong and this and that and other things that
That's
are
a great example.
like qualities that are normally reserved for men,
Right.
men are gonna like make them feel insecure, egos threatened, whatever other things. Like, I don't particularly understand.
So, this also brings me to another aspect of this entire conversation.
Yeah.
Is what about media in sport, right? Because I think I'm also come from the media field. You're also pretty much in it, and the coverage about women in sport in India as well. Cricket, yes, is picking up because obviously it is something that we all follow, we like, and the masses enjoy it. But what do you think should change? What do you think should happen when it comes to the media coverage for women in sport?
What do I think should change? Well, I think
More on sort of maybe like a sponsorship, maybe like more business, maybe more marketing. When it comes to media, I think all of these things are involved. So just from your perspective, if you were someone who was looking at this from a sense saying that I want women in sports to grow, and I think these few things can be brought into the scene, into the vibe.
So I think there's a few things. One, obviously there should just be more more coverage, easily accessible coverage. The biggest thing I hear is like, where do we watch the games? I don't know where to watch it.
Prime time, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But I do think that I've heard in India at least, like, people are doing things to help that. Like, for example, when the WPL was on, I think the men's ODI or something, there was some other like men's cricket was also on at the same time. But they made sure to either schedule the men later or like have have it at separate times so that
Right.
women could also get that like prime time star spots or
Right.
whatever coverage. But I think because traditional media coverage hasn't, lent the helping hand that women's sports has needed for so long, social media has kind of become the place that women's sports fans go to for their coverage. And I think it's incredible to see the kind of communities and news networks that have come just out of Instagram pages.
Yeah.
Like even like for women's sports, you don't really have like a halftime whatever discussion. Like you don't have pundits discussing what happened in the match. They'll show highlights, which is like kind of useless in the middle of the match. I want to like talk about what just happened.
Yeah.
And women's sports fans will go to Instagram or Discord channels or Reddit or whatever it is and discuss the game, or look at, like, there are a lot of like women's sports specific Instagram accounts that will give updates, and then in the comments you can discuss what was happening. So I think it has kind of brought this almost new wave of media for sports fans.
Yeah.
And I think especially particularly Gen Z sports fans who anyways consume most of their media on social media, it's kind of just like a perfect little package for anyone who supports women's sports.
I'll come to my Gen Z question a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I also want to understand right now, because you mentioned that there is no like a pre-show happening, there's no like a mid-inning show that's happening. Should there be a few maybe men, maybe athletes, or maybe professionals in the field of sport, maybe like an ex-cricketer or an ex-football player, a man should take the responsibility to start investing themselves in promoting women in sport? Do you think that will help and work?
I mean, I don't think it needs to particularly be a man. Of course, if it's a man who's interested in the sport and believes in it completely, then yeah, 100%. I don't think it would make that much of a difference. Of course, maybe if it's like Virat Kohli being in the halftime show, of course that would make a difference. But I don't think there's like a difference in skill or anything. I think it just needs to be someone who understands the game and who is passionate about that. If that happens to be a man, great. Like, we are all there to listen. But coverage wise, like formal news coverage just needs to get better.
So you're coming from a place saying that it doesn't matter just to get the eyeballs, but if someone is interested in it, you'd say then that's okay to start covering women in sport.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has kind of always been the like ethos with women's sports, is just like staying true to itself and not just like doing like sellout things just to get eyeballs. Because like with something like women's sports, there's always going to be so much criticism that if you don't stay true to yourself, it's harder to back that.
Yeah, there was, I think, and I'm not very sure about this, but I read somewhere that in one of the World Cup games, on your page or some page, where there was a player who scored a goal and she took off her jersey, I think, and there was waves everywhere as to because she was celebrating in that manner. And I think if the same had been done by a like a Ronaldo or something of that sort, people would have appreciated it and made it like a big thing. But I think this became a controversial thing more than the celebration and the win that she had, as to why she was taking off her jersey and things like that. So
I mean, it's not a very like done thing, I would say, in women's sports. Chloe Kelly did it in the finals of the Euros because she had scored, which meant they were going to win the Euros, which was a huge deal because England hadn't won a major trophy since like 1963 or something like
always,
that.
Always coming home, and this is finally when it actually did.
So of course it was a big deal. And I feel like in men's football, it's such a done thing. Like, in Liverpool United, doesn't Salah have like a record for how many whatever cards he's got for taking off his shirt to celebrate against United? So like, that's such a thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the double standard everywhere.
Yeah. I'm going to put this stat out to you as well. This is with regards to coverage that we're talking about for women in sport. Saudi now has something called the All Women Sports Network, which is launched a dedicated 24/7 sports channel. And Saudi is a place that didn't allow female athletes in the Olympics until 2012. They also had a ban on female attendance in sports stadiums that ended in 2018. and women were unable to compete in public schools until 2017. So for quite some years, I think Saudi has been a country which didn't allow women in sport to be out there, and finally now has a 24/7 women-centric sports channel. How cool is that?
Yeah,
I
huge.
mean, do you think the same thing should be bought here?
Honestly,
If not primetime TV, then at least OTT for that matter.
Yeah, I mean maybe OTT, but I feel like primetime would be better than something separate on OTT, because at least like primetime cable, there's a much larger population has access to that and is probably going to watch that even if they stumble upon it. OTT kind of restricts so many people in the country.
Interesting.
So I think that like that OTT is very intentional then. You have to either already be a fan, be someone who knows a fan, or like you have you are intentional if you have that subscription or whatever it is. You have it because you know you want to follow Gotham FC in the NWSL, or you want to watch New York Liberty in the WNBA. You have it for a reason. But I think if it's just already on cable, on Star Sports, where all other sports are shown, there's much more room for someone to stumble upon it or watch the last innings while they're waiting for the next program to start going. It's like, I think there's a larger possibility of bringing in new fans in that way.
I think that's a very interesting point, to try and integrate it via what's happening than to have something separate.
Yeah.
Great. Is there any myth that people have about women in sport which you'd want to break?
The people have a lot of myths against women's sport. I think one big one that I'm like very passionate about is I hear a lot of people saying that female tennis players would not be able to play 5 sets if if they were asked to or whatever. And I just think that's so stupid because one, doesn't make any sense. Two, this is a rule, like this 5-set versus 3-set rule is a rule that was made up by a committee of men, firstly. So they have decided that women can't play, or whatever, women can't play 5 sets and they have to play 3 sets. Secondly, obviously they're training to play 3-set matches, so that's what they're going to play. If they're training to play 5-set matches, they'd be able to play 5-set matches. It's the same as like telling a 100-meter sprinter versus a 1500-meter runner, like telling the 1500-meter runner to run the 100 meters. They're training for different events. It's a completely different thing. So it's just like, I just think it's bullshit when people say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes people use things for their own convenience, right? Like if you want to put across your message, you'd probably just come in and say what you want. Which also brings me to my next part is you went to this TSW event as well. I couldn't be there because I was not in Bombay, but I want to know when a community comes together like that, it looked good. I think everyone was there to support and push women in sport. What has been your learning from there, from the people you spoke to, people you met?
That event was it was incredible to see a company that is solely focused on women's sports to have put so much money and effort and time and just thought behind that event. It was so well done. There was like a section outside where they had created like mini games, like in the arcade there's like a mini like football goal where you have to score like on different points, and there was like mini hoops, there was like a small pickleball thing. Like it was so well done, so interactive. And then obviously there was a panel inside with firstly they got incredible athletes. PV Sindhu was there, Sania Mirza was there, which was insane. Aditi Chauhan was there. They had got a lot of athletes, like just a lot of big athletes to be in the audience itself. Like Deepa Karmakara, gymnastic Olympian, was there. So that was in general, I thought like, I just left the event being like, wow, like that was so well done. They had really like pulled it off so well. And I think also being there where everyone was there for women's sports was a really, really cool feeling. Like you could feel the energy in the room and you could feel that we were like all part of something that was going to be really big. And it was a very like tangible feeling. Everyone there was so passionate, like, you know, men, women, young athletes, like older people that were there, content creators, whatever it was, like everyone was so passionate, so excited to be there. The conversations that were had were very insightful, useful. They even had like a little like a training session for the athletes of like how to use Instagram to make themselves more marketable and monopolize on that, which I think is so important, because as female athletes in India, if you're not going to get paid much and that is going to be your career, you need to have something else. And content creation is so viable. And like female athletes right now are like the most marketable people on the internet. And if they can learn how to do that for themselves, like that's huge. And the fact that they had like a little workshop to teach them how to do that, I just thought that was so meaningful. Like it wasn't something you just listen to and go home and forget about. It was actually meaningful and useful. And then obviously all the panelists were great. Apart from the athletes, they also had like investors, like the founder of Lakshmi, I think someone from Meraki was also there, like a lot of important people who could make a difference in sports as a whole were there, and they all believed in it. It was cool. Like it was just,
because you also mentioned about pay, right? I also wanted to bring up women athletes in India. I'm not sure how it works in the US, and I want to know from you, because here in India, unless you're playing cricket, if you're playing any other sport, you have to be part of some of the government agencies, for example. Like you have to be in the railways, the army, the navy, and from there you then play a sport, maybe a handball, maybe a rugby, anything of that sort. How is it in the US?
Well, I think in the US it's much more through
Professional?
One, professional, and it's very much through like colleges. And because like collegiate athletes are treated like celebrities, like Division 1 college athletes are literally celebrities. That's how Caitlin Clark, that's where she came from. She came from a D1 basketball school. And because while they're in school, firstly, they just have really great facilities to train the athletes, but also allow them to be students at the same time. I really don't think that kind of structure exists here at all. So you can be a top student while being a world-class athlete. And then they also have like all the tournaments they have are so on such a big scale that are televised, so like all over the country. Like you can probably watch it over here as well. Like March Madness is a collegiate. It's a collegiate tournament that is literally treated like the NBA or the WNBA. So their system of training athletes from a young age to college and then letting them enter into whatever professional leagues and stuff is just very different and much better, I would say. I think it's just because athletes and sport is just thought of so differently there. Like here, it's not really a viable career. It's not like a respectable career in a very traditional Indian sense. Unless you're, whatever, Sachin Tendulkar, you're not treated like a god. There like as soon as you're in college, you're treated like a god if you're an athlete.
I think which is great, right? Which has to happen here as well. That when you enter grad or when you enter the uni, for example, you should be treated as a top tier athlete. We are waiting for someone to probably get their name in the paper, and that's when we start reading about. I think I mentioned this on my last podcast as well. Someone like a Neeraj Chopra, for example, no one knew him until he actually went and got like a medal for Olympics.
To the highest possible level he could get.
I mean, until then there was there was no university saying that he's our student. Or there was no one. But the day he actually got that, I saw 3 universities saying he's our student. And I'm wondering which university are you from?
No, and I mean, I think maybe not from a university standpoint, but I think maybe things are like changing a little bit simply for the fact that I hear a lot more people talk about the fact that we only like cricket. And I think even just people recognizing that and understanding that that is the only sport that is really recognized in the country somehow has like allowed like more athletes to be recognized as well.
Mm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I think just having that little bit of awareness. I think our school systems are different, and there
Yeah.
would have to be like a huge change to
Yeah.
like operate the way the US does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to bring in,
Yeah.
the point about Gen Z and millennials here.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned to you, I see myself, in between Gen Z, millennials, like a
Yeah.
bridge to try and see how we can manage things together.
Yeah.
I would want you to put yourself in whichever category you feel you get into, but also to look at perspectives, right? Perspectives for Gen Z, perspectives for millennials. How do they approach sport? What is it that you've seen, and who do you think is more supportive?
So I'm a Gen Z, very obviously, but I think I read a stat that said that like Gen Z is actually the least interested in sports, like in a long time, like compared to other generations.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. But I think when it comes specifically to women's sports, as a generation, we care a lot about like diversity, equity, inclusion, like DEI situation. So having women's sports as a whole, like having that aspect of sports as valid and integral to sports as a whole is important. So not to say that I don't think millennials don't care about women's sports. I think they do as well. I just think Gen Z cares more about...
They're least interested, you're saying, in sport, but they care about including women in sport.
Yeah.
Right, rightly put? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think so. And I think also Gen Z versus millennial, I think the way they consume sport is very different. Like
You mean an example?
I think at least like millennials are more likely to consume sport in a traditional way, go to games, watch it on TV, like cable, whatever.
Okay.
Gen Z is more likely to get their information from social media.
But aren't like Gen Z now into like, the coffee raves after a run and high rocks and all of that? These are all Gen Z kind of vibe and all of that.
Which are
is
all
more fitness and sport related.
Yeah. But also which are all things that like come from social media and are for essentially social media. So I think...
So you think it's just there and then it gets over? It doesn't go beyond
what do you mean?
Media.
Like...
No, I mean like, so I'm coming to a point that you do high rocks, you do a
well, this is a different topic.
No, I'm asking.
Okay, I'm just clarifying that this is a different. That's a different topic.
I'm just asking because you said it's for social media. So I'm saying, is it just going to end there and then that doesn't get them into full-time fitness?
No, I'm sure that it gets them into full-time fitness because you have to train a lot to do like high rocks or whatever.
Yeah.
As per like coffee raves, at the end of the day, they're after a run. So if it's getting people to run more, like that's good as well. I do think these things are like fads.
Yeah.
At some point, people will get exhausted and forget about it.
Yeah.
And only time will tell as to whether they will actually stay in their fitness journey or not. But I mean, I definitely do think they're fads, and it's like the internet's new hot flavor this month.
And if you had to create something, like a fad maybe to try and push your entire, something that you're doing right now to push women in sport, if you had to bring out a fad, a trend of such, as such, do you think there is anything on the top of your mind to try and do like a meetup maybe, or a shake-up rave about some screening of sorts?
Yeah,
anything?
I mean, like I've done screenings for matches for like a cricket match or Olympic final football match. So I have done screenings, and they're a really good way to like bring community together and get people to watch when they might not have otherwise watched.
Yeah.
But like especially because all these things are so in the zeitgeist right now, just having like an all-female run happen, or like an all-female event where we get to play sports, that's just one way to
like a tournament of sorts where it's just for women.
Yeah.
Interesting. Is there something, someone who's, probably watching you now from here on, or people who are on your page right now, if someone also says, I look at Nandita and I want to start something like that, where I, want to target women in sport, what's that one advice you'd want to give them to start off in this field?
Like, just do it.
We don't have to promote Nike here, but
no,
I'm just saying.
I think it's like, especially with being on camera, you can think 100 times and be like, what are people gonna say, this and that? Or especially when it's sports. Like, it's something that I've felt so like scared of, like, oh, do I want to be this authority on women's sports of like, I'm like imparting knowledge on you. People are coming to me with a certain amount of trust that, you know, I'm obviously gonna tell them the truth and like things that
share.
Yeah, like whatever. So that's intimidating, being that like having that position of power, I guess, in like on the internet. And like it's scary, but if people are coming and are staying, then that's only a good sign. And if you like, if you believe in what you're doing, then that's it, I think.
So what's your vision, the ultimate vision for Ready Set Go? Girl, sorry.
Yeah. My vision is that I want this to be my full time. Like that's my career.
Yeah.
I don't know what that will turn into, whether it's me like partnering with news networks or like the Instagram of the news networks and being and analyzing or commenting or telling stories or whatever it is, or whether it's I get to interview athletes in real life or like I get to make documentaries. That really would be the dream, I think, through Ready Set Girl, to make, you know, documentaries on female athletes.
That's interesting, yeah.
But I just want it to be I want it to be able to be my full time. Yeah.
Is there any one athlete that you're looking at to interview, like a dream interview sort of? Someone you want to speak to?
I would say Alex Morgan.
Alex Morgan.
Yeah, I think I've like looked up to her for really long. I just think she's so cool. I would love to interview her. Yeah.
I think she was also on you know, the PlayStation career mode when it comes to FIFA.
Yeah.
And that also brings me to another question. Do games like these, right, PlayStation games and FIFA and, you know, cricket, etc., do they need to also start, you know, like pushing out a little bit of this, where you don't have an Mbappe maybe in the on the front, but alongside an Mbappe you also have like an Alex Morgan there?
Yeah. 100%. I definitely think they should. And I mean, I don't play these games, so I don't particularly know, but I know that a lot of boys will come to me and be like, oh yeah, I know Putea, she's so good on FIFA. Or like some random PSG defender, they'll be like, she's so good on FIFA, I love her. I'll be like, how do you know her? So I think it's such a good way to get people who play, you know, esports or whatever in like more aware of women's players. Like it's a very easy way. And yeah, like it should just happen more. I know that FIFA, whatever, does it a lot. Like EA, they have like the cards and stuff. I know they do it a lot. I don't know what the esports situation is for cricket, so I don't know how that works, but
not much, but
I definitely think it's a very good way.
Also want to get to the business end of this, where I want to ask you, is there someone who you look up to, you know, in terms of giving you that motivation? Everyone has a role model, an idol sort of. Who's been that person for you?
Yeah, I have one.
You would smile before you even begin.
No, I have one role model. Her name is Miriam Walker Khan. She's a journalist in the UK.
Okay.
She works for Sky Sports.
Okay.
But she also runs the Instagram page called Brown Girl Sport. And
I think
she's incredible. Like, I mean, I've had the privilege of like being in touch with her and chatting with her and working with her on Brown Girl Sport.
Wow.
But I really look up to her. She's so cool, and I really feel like she's doing what I want to do in the future. She gets to make documentaries with Sky Sports and interview really cool people. She also grew up as a runner. So
anything about her personality that people could use in their day-to-day lives? Something that you think, you know, this is something that I like about her, which is, you know, something that people, you know, like for example, I'll just give you, like, sometimes you have someone like an MS, for example, right? He's someone who's a huge follower of the process. I think he doesn't, you know, think about the end result. And that's what keeps me going in life, where I think it's important to look at the process and not think about, you know, what's going to come.
Yeah.
Something of that sort.
Well, yeah, I think she's very confident on camera, but at the same time very vulnerable, which I think is so cool, because you see her documentaries where she's talking to people and they're really like emotional stories, and she's not afraid to like get vulnerable or cry or whatever it is on camera. And I think, yeah, it's just very real, which I like about her.
What's the best advice that you've ever been given?
The best advice, I think if you want to do something, just do it. It sounds so simple, but as an overthinker, I think it really has, like, when I'm I'm second guessing something, I think I'm just like, if at the end of the day, if I want to do it, I should just do it. Like, I don't know, it sounds so simple and stupid, but yeah, I think that it's good advice.
Yeah, for in the days to come, in the years to come, I'm sure you have like a content plan probably that you've put together for Ready Set Girl. Are you going to be worried by the numbers that it will generate eventually? Do you think it is something that will reward you financially right now? If not, how difficult it is, and what are you probably doing to try and tackle that? I'm only coming from a point that if there's someone who's kind of watching you right now, wants to get into this space, and is also thinking that how will I make this financially viable for myself?
Yeah.
Just as a side option. So obviously they should look at probably a full-time job, or something that they're doing by the side, and also start this definitely. Yeah. But if you just want to give us a little picture on how you can steady that boat.
Honestly, I have no idea. Like, to be super real with you, I'm just figuring it out as I'm going. When I figure it out, I'll let you know. But right now, I'm just creating and staying true to myself, which is very important. And I don't know how I'll monetize that, like, right now, but I think it's definitely got me in touch with a lot of people. A lot of people have like DM'd me to work with me, like especially with the upcoming Cricket World Cup. There have been a lot of like brands or other pages that have wanted to work with me. So even if it's like right now, my priority is exposure.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what follows. Like when you say, am I worried about like numbers or whatever? I don't think worry is the right word. Like if the numbers mean exposure and like women's sports is growing, like that's not a worry. I definitely want that. But I don't know. That's my honest answer. I have no idea.
That's great because we will definitely be invested in your page, tracking you and seeing how you grow. Also, if there's this is my last one for you. If there's someone who's watching you right now, and say you were making a pitch as to why someone should watch Ready Set Girl or stay invested in the kind of content you're doing, because I'm already invested, and I know that there is a lot of hard work, research, and the amount of time that you need to invest in following the sport right down to the T. I think it takes a lot of effort. So if there's someone who's probably watching you through this and just saying that you want to get them invested in your page, what would you want to tell them, just as a whole?
I mean, like, for one, it's 2025. How can you not be invested in women's sports? But I think it's just such a great community to be a part of. It's very welcoming to new fans. And there's no like gatekeeping. There's no like, no one's going to ask you to name 5 players or like explain the offside rule or whatever it is. Everyone's just going to be so happy that you're there. Also, like, the storylines are insane, because one thing about the women's sports community and like the athletes is that it's a very queer community. So a lot of the players have actually like dated each other or married or engaged or are exes. And then they either are like playing on the same team or playing against each other, which just makes it so much more interesting to watch, in my opinion. It's going to be $1 billion industry. If everyone is investing in it, there's no reason that you should not.
There's money involved.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for being here. I hope to stay in touch, and I hope that the next time you're here, in maybe a few years, few months, I'm able to get 3
100%
posters which have women in sport in them. And I'm just hoping that Ready Set Girl continues to grow from where it started. And thank you once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nandita.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.